This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Tasmania's Integrity Commission could be called in to investigate the recruitment of 3 senior executives within the public service. An audit into the selection process found a serious lack of transparency, with conflicts of interest not adequately reported.
An investigation into 5 departments within the public sector made concerning findings. 3 out of 8 senior executive positions called into question following conflicts of interest not being reported during recruitment.
If that merit principle is being overridden because of conflicts of interest that aren't being properly managed, then that does put into question whether or not people are being appropriately appointed within the public sector. Departments
including Premier and Cabinet, Health and Human Services, Police and Emergency and DPIPWE. The probe looking into just 25% of recruitment processes, the 3 positions in question not centralised to one department. The second audit in as many years to discover alarming inadequacies.
It's probably frustrating for the Integrity Commission as well, because they've also done some investigations into this particular area as well. And some of their recent reports also flagged the fact that conflicts of interest aren't being managed appropriately.
It's alarming that senior executive appointments are not being properly advertised, that selection panels have not declared conflicts of interest, including personal relationships.
The findings come off the back of numerous scandals. TasTAFE CEO Stephen Conway, the most recent, resigning following evidence of giving favourable treatment, a salary payout of more than $180,000, prompting a reference to the Integrity Commission.
Asking whether or not that was in keeping with the State Service Act. The Integrity Commission has found that it is. However, it does still raise questions about why a Code of Conduct review was not undertaken.
The Premier is vowing to progress the recommendations made in the report, 3 questionable positions that may now be further investigated.
We do refer some matters to the Integrity Commission. This may be a matter that we discuss with the Integrity Commission in due course.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
As pressure continues to affect the state's health system, general practitioners are calling for an independent review to see what can be done. They say patients and health practitioners have been failed. It comes as the state's 2 main political parties battle over how the system is being audited.
These are the documents Labor leader Rebecca White says prove outpatient waiting lists aren't being audited. She put in a request to the government last year to find out what had been determined from a recent probe.
The response from the RTI came back and said the government hadn't done an audit. This is very alarming because each time the Minister is questioned about the long waits patients are having to endure to access outpatient specialist appointments, he says that he's auditing the outpatient list and that patients will be seen sooner if it's necessary.
According to the Health Minister, Ms White is just playing word games. Michael Ferguson says a waitlist management unit was set up earlier this year and that the latest data is accessible on the department's website. But as pressure continues to affect our medical staff, general practitioners are now speaking out.
In Tasmania, we are failing our patients, and increasingly we are failing our health practitioners as well. We are failing doctors and we are failing our nurses. And that's got to stop.
Dr Bastian Seidel says politics need to be taken out of health.
What we need is a proper needs analysis for Tasmania. We need an independent review to look at the Tasmanian healthcare system, to see what patients need, to see what patients want.
An upper house inquiry is currently looking into the system. Both political parties aren't convinced an independent review is needed just yet.
We would like for the upper house inquiry to complete its work first, and we think that's the first step to truly understand what's happening in the health system.
Monica Dadson, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian abattoir will close its doors due to a lack of skilled workers. The Huon Valley Meat Company says it's been difficult to find skilled labour to carry out long-term work for the Craddock Hill abattoir. The company denying on social media it's due to accusations of animal abuse. Its 2 stores in Hobart and Huonville will also close, leaving a total of 15 people without jobs. The company says trading will continue over Christmas, thanking its customers for their service. A potential Mount Lyell Mine restart is another step closer. Copper Mines of Tasmania today announcing it's engaged underground mining contractor Piper to rehabilitate the Queenstown Mine's main underground tunnel. The company says the work is essential to bring the mine up to modern standards. 4.5 kilometres of the underground infrastructure will be refurbished, with the work expected to take up to 4 months. The state government has given Copper Mines of Tasmania $9.5 million to help it restart operations. The mine has been in care and maintenance since 2014, following the death of 3 workers. CMT hopes to restart the mine once copper prices improve. A Beauty Point woman has been found alive and well after missing for almost 2 days. Family members of Sally Ann Brown Davis were yesterday concerned for her welfare, as she had not been seen since 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Police confirming today she has been found safe and well. A report released today shows an increase in Australian employers joining the fight for gender equality. On average, Australian women earn $26,000 less than men each year. But Tasmania is one of the better states for equality, with 1 in 3 board directors female.
Some heartening evidence heard in Hobart today, including the announcement of an 11% increase in Australian employers undertaking gender pay gap analysis.
That is fantastic, because if we see organisations do that gender pay gap analysis and they then take action to address the gender pay gap, we will see the national gender pay gap reduce over time and reduce more quickly.
But according to the Workplace Gender Equality Agency report, there's still a long way to go.
There's a lot of structural changes that need to be made in institutions, in society.
On average nationwide, women earn $26,000 less than men, with their male counterparts out earning in every occupation.
Change takes time. We're looking at cultural change here, deeply embedded cultural norms that we have been dealing with since the Industrial Revolution.
10% of CEOs in Australia are women, and if you look at the start of the funnel and just the overall population, we know that closing the gap means much more, like a 50% number.
In Tasmania, things are improving, with much of the data above the national average. 1 in 3 Tasmanian board directors are women, and almost 50% of local employers have a domestic violence policy.
We need everybody on this journey. We need everybody to understand that if we can get more women into satisfying paid work, then the benefit to families, community and the nation will follow.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
A Hobart supermarket is trialling a weekly quiet hour in a bid to make the shopping experience more pleasant for those with autism. The move is receiving praise from organisations working with those on the spectrum, with calls for more businesses to follow suit.
For many, a trip to the supermarket is a simple chore, but for mum of 2 Kayla, it's a serious challenge.
Sometimes I do leave the supermarket and I'll have a cry. When he does have a meltdown, it breaks my heart, because people stare and think, oh, he's just a naughty little brat.
The Launceston woman has 1 child with autism and welcomes the move by Coles to trial quiet hour at the Newtown store in Hobart. She hopes it will be implemented in a supermarket that she can visit.
I'd jump up with glee. I think it's brilliant. Like, I'll be able to go to the supermarket with Jace and just be able to experience that time with him and not being judged or stared at.
As do these organisations working with those on the spectrum, who say it's a positive step in the right direction to clear common misconceptions.
It's unfortunate and very upsetting for families who are just trying to do things that everybody just takes for granted.
I think it's going to make people a lot more understanding and maybe influence others to sort of understand their circumstance without judging straight away.
For an hour every Tuesday, this supermarket will dim the lights, turn the volume down on the registers and not collect any shopping trolleys in order to create a more pleasant environment for those experiencing sensory difficulties.
It's just more about the customers. We can just make the small changes that can make a massive influence to a customer shopping experience, definitely.
Now calls for other businesses to follow the lead. Coles already considering rolling out Quiet Hour in other stores across Tasmania. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania is set to host the country's first horse racing championship exclusively for female jockeys. Tas Racing says it will extend the upcoming Tasmanian Summer Racing Carnival to incorporate the event. 2 jockeys from each state and 1 from the Northern Territory will compete in 4 races. Tasmanian jockey Sigrid Carr hopes to fly the flag for the state.
I feel like I'm riding at my best at the moment with the competition that I've got. So, look, I'm just striving to improve.
They're going to be such high quality female jockeys that punters will have their favourites. They will have won money on them. They will have been general supporters of these girls anyway.
The Female Jockey Championship will be held in Launceston on March 7. Grade 8 students at a Tasmanian high school have proved having a sweet tooth can sometimes help others. Riverside high school students selling 235 boxes of donuts, raising almost $2,000 for the Motor Neuron Disease Association of Tasmania.
M&D has affected our school community, lots of students and teachers as well, and we just want to help out.
Personally, it was important to me because my grandmother passed away 2 years ago from motor neurone disease. We think it's a fabulous cause, and motor neurone disease do such a fabulous job for the people who actually suffer from it, not just the research to finding a cure.
The students ran the fundraising campaign over the past 3 weeks. A record-breaking heatwave will continue to sweep over Tasmania, with this week declared the hottest November week in almost 130 years. The stretch of sunny weather is coinciding with Skin Cancer Awareness Week, but Melanoma Tasmania says misconceptions about UV catch many off guard.
Tracy Barton knows just how devastating skin cancer can be, losing her husband 12 months ago.
We just trusted that we could beat it. He was young, we were young, and that, he was going to be the 20% of people that get to live forever. Very quickly that changed.
Chris was diagnosed in March last year, the aggressive melanomas taking the 39-year-old within just 8 months. Treatment not enough to save him.
You would never think that someone will die, and so quickly, you think that you'll get it cut out and everything will be fine and you'll just move on.
We know that a lot of people are now doing very well on these new immunotherapies, but unfortunately there's only about 50% of people who respond to those.
Melanoma Tasmania says prevention should be the focus as Tasmania swelters through its warmest week in over a century. Sunny skies and no cloud cover creating prime skin burning conditions.
In Tasmania, on a clear day, when it's 16 degrees or 30 degrees. In summer, the UV will be the same.
Even your strongest 50 SPF only blocks about 98% of UV, so even using sunscreen as it's meant to be used, you will still burn if that's all that you're relying on.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Now a look at today's business and finance with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The share market has edged higher amid gains in the mining sector, while the Reserve Bank's concerns about slow wage growth have driven the Australian dollar to a 5-month low. The ASX 200 index has risen by 17.8 points. The dollar finishing the day trading at 75.43 US cents and 64.24 euro cents.
James Faulkner has been ruled out of Tasmania's next Sheffield Shield clash after injuring his ribs at training. Despite the omission, the Tigers are confident of rattling the Redbacks with the help of one recruit who is hitting the ground running.
A rejuvenated Tiger squad has recently enjoyed sky-high form, belting Victoria out of the park in last week's Sheffield Shield until the rain ruined any chance of an outright win. New signing Tom Rogers was at the forefront, taking 4 for 21 in the opening innings.
I've taken a few lessons. There's plenty of old heads in the side to learn off.
But the side's trip to Adelaide is already turbulent. James Faulkner, a shock departure due to a rib injury sustained at training. And there is no time frame for his return.
I think anyone would want him in their side, but we get some talented players. We've got a talented squad, so I'm sure whoever comes in will fill that spot.
Simon Malenko will replace Faulkner. The Tigers say patience can soften the Redback sting.
They're a pretty attacking side, so we'll just stay nice and patient, consistent, do what we do, and hopefully that'll come up trumps.
The clash gets underway on Thursday. The Australian Rally Championship is on track to return to Tasmania for the first time in 7 years. Round 4 of the championship is likely to be held in Launceston next August, after the local council committed $50,000 to the event. More than 50 teams take part in the 6-round series.
It's a new event. It's going to be an event for the winter months, and it's something that we believe is a very important time for promoting events in our city.
Burnie was the last Tasmanian city to host a round of the championship in 2010. Rally organisers are still requesting $200,000 from Events Tasmania. Skeleton sledding is one of the world's fastest and most dangerous sports, but that only adds to the appeal for one Tasmanian who recently returned from his first international competition. And despite the risks, the 25-year-old says he's hungry for more.
Blink and you'll miss it. Barrelling down that ice-covered course is Tyler Heron, hitting speeds of up to 140 kilometres per hour.
It's brutal on your body.
And a brutal challenge for any Tasmanian trying to be skeleton sledding's next big thing. But this Launceston builder is heading in the right direction. Last week he competed in Canada at his first international competition. And this was his view.
You need to put all that tension, all the crowd noise, all the adrenaline, you need to just relax and just let it happen.
Tyler even had his own cool runnings moment, crashing on the same corner which famously caught out the Jamaican bobsleigh team at the 1988 Calgary Winter Olympics.
Rolled over on my back and hurt my hip and my shoulder pretty badly at the time. I wasn't able to sleep on the left side of my body for at least 3 days.
With no proper training facilities and barely a drip feed of funding, Tyler makes plenty of sacrifices. His goal is to make the 2022 Winter Games.
I want to be the best, that's what I'm there for.
The 4-day Tasmanian Amateur Golf Championships has wrapped up in Hobart. The tournament saw South Korea's Chang-Ji Lee take out the men's title over Tasmania's Andrew Phillips. In the women's, Grace Kim from New South Wales beat her Victorian rival Adele Douglas.
Good evening. Hobart 29 degrees today, Launceston 27, Burnie and Devonport 21, Campania the high around the state 33, Bushy Park warm as well 32 with Ouzon 31, Strawn looking picture postcard today tipping the 30 degree mark, Grove 29, Fingal and Warra 27, Flinders Island and Friendly Beaches 24, Lyell 23, St Helens reached 22 while King Island and Wynyard had 21 degrees. A long bright cloud band extends from Western Australia across the Southern Ocean. Thunderstorms are with the cloud over the far north of the nation and parts of South Australia. The rest of the country under direct sunlight. And just a little convective cloud over parts of the west today, sea fog over the far south and some low-level cloud near King Island. Tomorrow, a high pressure system remains just to our east over the Tasman, extending a ridge up the coastline. A low deepens near the Eyre Peninsula and a couple of troughs lie through central Australia. North to northeasterly winds at 15 to 25 knots over the east and north tomorrow. Lighter winds elsewhere and tending more variable over the far south and inland. Now, as we look at the forecast, keep in mind a high fire danger exists for the upper Derwent, Midlands and southeast forecast districts. Hobart hot and sunny 31. 31 as well for Bothwell and Geefston 30 degrees. For Launceston, mostly sunny 28 the top, 22 for Devonport, mostly sunny 2 for Cressy and 28 degrees. For Burnie, cloud clearing, 22 the top. Strawn, look at that, 29 degrees tomorrow, 21 the top for Curry on King Island. St Helens, bit of cloud early, 23 the top, 27 for Swansea and 26 for Orford. Now the UV at 9s and 10s, and that is as high as it gets before extreme. So remember, even if it is cloudy, it's the UV that matters. On Thursday, partly cloudy and still warm. Sunny over the west coast again. Another warm day on Friday, hot over the central north and north. A fine start to the weekend with a shower or two developing in the afternoon. Sunny in Perth tomorrow, a possible shower after a typical November day in Adelaide. A hot day for Melbourne as well, 32. Sunny for Canberra and a shower or two once again for Sydney and Brisbane.
And that's all from the news team for now. We'll see you a little bit later throughout the evening. Good night.
like we've got people lining up to come and collect their Krispy Kremes. Okay, so you guys line up outside the door.